Hi there, good morning. Uh, I thought I'd put a quick video together following some comments I made last week around professional services firms and using a bare trust, where people have asked more questions. So I thought I'd first of all cover off a few key points. When I'm talking about a professional services firm, I'm actually talking about practices like accounting firms and law firms and professional consulting firms and the like. And what often happens is those practices have a collective of equity partners, so partners in the firm that also own shares in the business. So the business itself would usually be a tangible business that has a realisable value, where shares are privately held and can be transacted between various parties. In terms of a lot of professional services firms, the equity partners have often arranged borrowings to finance the ongoing expenses of the business, or smooth out lumpy invoicing and returns, and also possibly buy into the business. And what happens is often those kind of practices take out what's called key person insurance. And what key person insurance does in really simple terms is it provides a lump sum payment to the owner of the policy in the event of the trigger happening. So often that might be cancer, stroke, heart attack, disability, neurological conditions, or premature death. And the proceeds are paid to the owner, as I said before. Often these professional services firms, they use these proceeds for a multitude of issues, such as I said, covering off said partner's loan, also covering off any potential tax liability of that partner, I should say. If there is to be an equity transfer, often that's reflected in a shareholders agreement, and some of the proceeds are used to fund the equity transfer. And again, the remaining partners in the practice may also need some of those funds to help protect their revenue and or expenses. Now, the reason we use the bare trust in some of these circumstances, and we often call it an insurance trust in this case, is it's much more flexible. So there might be, 6, 7, 8, 9, it doesn't really matter how many lives are involved. And if the bear or the insurance trust owns the policies, then the proceeds are paid to that trust. Now, like all trusts, the trust has a rule book, often called a trust deed, but what I'm just going to call it the rule book. And the rule book is written usually by the lawyers, and that will talk about and how to contemplate the use of those proceeds. Now, the reason in the case I was talking about last week we like that is we need to be flexible, because the debts go up and down, the tax goes up and down, the equity positions of each partner go up and down each year based on their contribution to the practice as well. And equally, as I said, they often, in the case of one last week, they want to have some proceeds left over for protection of the balance sheet and the like. So in setting up the rules, it then allows a flexibility of the distribution to meet the actual need at that time, i.e. the debt position at that time, the equity position at that time, etc. So for the right people and the right practices, it can be a really flexible solution. I hope this helps clarify and provide some insight into what we were talking about last week and why and where it might be used. I guess a word of caution, this is just general advice and factual information that's out there. If you'd like to discuss this in a bit more detail, given it is fairly in-depth, I'd love to have a chat. Otherwise, take care.